My name is Maren Whitlock. I'm 36 years old, and I had one rule for my parents when it came to my son. No peanuts, no tree nuts, no exceptions. That was it. Not a list of demands. Not some modern parenting theory my father liked to roll his eyes at. One rule, printed in black ink, repeated in 3 emails, taped to Caleb's lunch container, and spoken out loud every time my parents asked to take him anywhere without me. Last Saturday, they broke it in front of half our church. At 4:37 p.m., my 5-year-old son was sitting on a folding chair in the fellowship hall of First Grace Chapel, scratching at his throat with both hands. At 4:42, I was carrying him through the side doors, his lips swelling, his breath turning thin and sharp in my ear. By 4:55, he was in an emergency room bed, with an oxygen mask, fogging over his little face. And my father stood in the hallway, arms crossed over his Sunday sweater, and said, "He's still breathing, isn't he?" I remember the sound before I remember my own reaction. The low beep of the monitor. The wheels of a cart passing behind me. Caleb trying to say my name through the plastic mask and only getting out the first syllable. Mom. That was what broke me. Not my father's voice. Not my mother crying into a tissue for everyone watching. My son, apologizing with his eyes for a mistake grown adults had made around him. Then my mother, Lorna Bellamy, touched my elbow and whispered, "Maren, please don't turn this into a church scandal." Not, "Is Caleb okay?" Not, "I'm sorry." A scandal. That was the word she chose, while my child was still fighting for air. But to understand why my parents could look at a little boy on oxygen and still worry more about appearances, I have to tell you about the house I grew up in, where every danger had another name, and every truth was treated like bad manners. Before we begin, please subscribe to support the channel. And here is a fun little challenge. Check your phone battery right now. If it is above 6%, comment 1. If it is below 6%, comment 2. Let's see which answer wins today. If you enjoy this story and would like to support our team, you can buy us a cup of coffee through the link in the description. Every contribution helps us continue creating more meaningful, emotional, and captivating stories for you. Thank you so much for your kindness and support. Now, let's begin the story. In the house I grew up in, danger was never allowed to keep its real name. If something hurt, my mother called it sensitivity. If something scared me, my father called it imagination. If someone crossed a line, Lorna Bellamy called it a misunderstanding before anyone had time to decide whether it was one. My mother spent 27 years as the secretary at First Grace Chapel, and people loved her because she could make any ugly thing sound gentle. My father, Warren, was different. He didn't soften things. He sanded them down until there was nothing left to hold. He had repaired clocks in our town for 40 years, and he talked about fear like it was a loose screw people should have tightened by adulthood. When I cried as a child, he would glance over his newspaper and say, "Maren, you're not made of glass." I believed him for longer than I should have. At 9, when the neighbor's dog bit through the hem of my jeans, Dad said I must have startled it. At 12, when I told Mom the youth room space heater smelled like burning plastic, she told me not to embarrass the deacon who donated it. At 16, when I said I didn't like riding home with my cousin because he drove too fast, Dad laughed and said, "You'll never survive the real world if every hill feels like a cliff." So I learned the Bellamy family rule before I learned how to balance a checkbook. Do not name the danger, name the reaction instead. That habit followed me into adulthood. It followed me into my marriage with Owen, who once found me apologizing to a waitress because she brought Caleb the wrong plate. It followed me into my job coordinating insurance files at St. Agnes Community Hospital, where I learned that the difference between a warning and a tragedy is often whether somebody bothers to read the note. When Caleb was 3, he ate half a cookie at a playground birthday party before I saw the crushed peanuts baked into the top. His lips swelled first, then came the cough. Then the terrible little silence between breaths. The EpiPen saved him. After that, I became the mother with the labeled containers, the allergy card in her purse, and the emergency pouch my father liked to call Maren's portable hospital. My parents treated it like a phase. Dad rolled his eyes when I asked about ingredients. Mom smiled at other women after I explained Caleb's allergy and said, "She works around medical paperwork all day. It spills over." They said it lightly. People laughed lightly. And every time, I swallowed the old feeling that maybe I was too much. Still, I let them see Caleb. I wanted him to have grandparents badly enough that I kept mistaking access for effort. So when First Grace Chapel announced its early Thanksgiving fundraiser, and my mother promised, "I'll be with him every minute," I wanted to believe her. I just didn't trust belief enough to leave it undocumented. I sent the allergy instructions 3 times. Once to my mother, once to Gloria Fenwick, who was handling the food, and once again the morning of the fundraiser, with Caleb's name in the subject line. Later, those 3 emails would matter more than any apology they refused to give me. By noon, the fellowship hall at First Grace Chapel looked exactly the way it always did before a holiday fundraiser: folding tables, plastic cloths, slow cookers along the wall, coffee burning in the big silver urn. I walked in holding Caleb's hand, his lunch container tucked under my arm. His name was written across the lid in black marker. Underneath it, in letters no adult could miss, I had written, "Peanut and tree nut allergy. Do not share food." My mother saw the container before she saw me. Her smile tightened for half a second, then widened for the room. "There's my boy," she said, bending toward Caleb. Then she glanced at the box and gave a little laugh. "Maren brought provisions. Apparently, we may survive the afternoon after all." 2 women near the coffee station smiled. One chuckled. Caleb's fingers tightened around mine, and I felt that old heat rise in my face, the kind my parents had trained me to swallow. I kept my voice low. "Mom, please. This is his safe food." She touched my wrist like I was the one who needed calming. "Sweetheart, I know. You've explained it." Then, Gloria Fenwick came out of the kitchen carrying a tray of frosted cupcakes, her apron dusted white. Gloria owned Fenwick Bakery downtown and had fed weddings, funerals, baptisms, and pancake breakfasts for as long as I could remember. She looked at Caleb's container, then at me. "Honey, I've fed half this county for 30 years. I know what I'm doing." My father made it worse. Warren leaned against the dessert table, picked up a cupcake, and held it toward Caleb like a magician showing a coin. "Looks like he's not scared," he said, pulling it back before Caleb could touch it. "Only his mother is." A small laugh moved through the people closest to us, polite and poisonous. Caleb looked up at me, confused, searching my face to see whether he had done something wrong. Children hear the joke before they understand it. They feel the shame before they can name it. I set Caleb's container on the chair beside my mother, not in her hands. "He eats from this," I said. "Nothing else, unless I check it first." Mom's smile stayed in place, but her eyes cooled. "Maren, this is a church event. Nobody here is trying to hurt your child." Across the hall, Beverly Haskins stood near the coffee urn. She didn't laugh. She only looked from my father's hand to the cupcake tray, then toward the one nor where Gloria had disappeared with the spatula still in her fist. A few minutes later, Pastor Miles waved me over to the donation table. It was only across the room. I could still see Caleb's red sweater from where I stood, and his labeled container was right beside my mother's chair. That was the only reason I moved. Mom touched Caleb's shoulder and said, "Go on. I've got him. Every minute, remember?" So I walked away for less than 10 minutes. I thought the worst thing they had done was laugh at my son's lunchbox. I didn't know that in the kitchen, a tray of cupcakes had just been put where it never should have been. The donation table should have taken 2 minutes. It took 7 because Mrs. Aldridge had written her check to the building fund but tucked her pledge card under the Thanksgiving baskets, and Pastor Miles wanted the totals clean before the treasurer arrived. I stood there with a pen in my hand, lining up numbers in neat little boxes, while my eyes kept returning to Caleb's red sweater across the room. He was beside my mother. He was laughing. That was how close danger can stand to ordinary life. What I did not see was Gloria in the kitchen with 2 trays on the stainless steel prep table. One held the plain vanilla cupcakes she had promised were safe for the children. The other had come from her bakery case that morning, leftovers from a peanut butter frosting order for the booster club. From a distance, they looked almost the same. White swirls, orange sprinkles, pumpkin wrappers. The difference was not dramatic enough for people like my parents. They only respected danger when it looked like danger. Beverly Haskins told me later she went toward the kitchen because the paper towels had run out near the coffee urn. Beverly was 72, a retired school bus driver, and the kind of woman who noticed everything without turning it into gossip. She said Gloria was muttering about the dessert table looking uneven. Then Gloria lifted 3 cupcakes from one platter and moved them to another, using the same spatula she had just used on the peanut butter tray. Then my father stepped halfway into the kitchen. Beverly said he had a cupcake in his hand, and that little smirk he wore when he thought he was proving a point. "Which one is the one Maren made such a federal case about?" he asked. Gloria laughed under her breath. "They're vanilla, Warren. She won't know the difference." Beverly said that was when she stopped reaching for the paper towels. Something about the sentence bothered her before she knew why. Warren lowered his voice, but not enough. "Good," he said. "Just don't tell Maren which one he ate." Beverly told me later she almost spoke right then, but Mrs. Aldridge called from the hall, asking if anyone had seen her purse, and Pastor Miles stepped into the doorway with a stack of envelopes. The moment folded back into the noise of the fundraiser. That is how families like mine survive. Not because no one sees anything, because everyone sees a piece and assumes someone else understands the whole. By the time I finished fixing the pledge card, Gloria had come back out with a fresh tray. My mother stood beside Caleb's chair, one hand resting on the back of it. His labeled container was no longer on the chair. It had been moved under the table, tucked near my mother's purse, as if the warning itself had become embarrassing. I remember noticing that and feeling irritation first, not fear. Fear came later. At that moment, I only thought, why can't they leave one thing where I put it? Then I saw frosting on the corner of Caleb's mouth. A white smear near the dimple on his left cheek. For 1 second, I let myself hope it was from something safe. My mother saw my face change and said quickly, "Gloria said it was plain vanilla." My father picked lint off his sleeve like this was already boring him. Across the hall, Beverly was still standing near the kitchen door with a roll of paper towels in her hand, watching us now with the first real concern I had seen all afternoon. I crouched in front of Caleb. "Buddy, did someone give you a cupcake?" He nodded, still smiling, and pointed toward my father. Warren shrugged before I even looked at him. "He wanted one," he said. "We're at a church party, Maren. Let the boy live a little." I opened my mouth to answer, but Caleb swallowed and rubbed the front of his neck with both hands. Once. Then again, the smile left his face. He leaned closer to me and whispered, "Mommy, my throat feels itchy." For a second, the whole room narrowed to Caleb's fingers on his throat. Not the casseroles, not the coffee urn, not my mother's hand rising toward her mouth like she had already chosen the expression people should see. Just Caleb, blinking too fast, trying to understand why his own body had turned against him. His lips looked fuller than they had a minute before. His cheeks were blotching red along the jaw. I said his name once, and he tried to answer, but the sound came out thin. I reached for the emergency pouch in my bag. My mother stepped closer. "Maren, wait. Are you sure?" That was what she asked me. Not what did he eat, not what do you need. "Are you sure?" As if certainty were the problem. As if I had been waiting my whole life for an excuse to make a scene in the fellowship hall. My father sighed behind me. "It was 1 bite," he said. "You're going to scare him worse than the cupcake did." I looked at Caleb's mouth, then at the small hollow at the base of his throat, pulling in with each breath. That little dip changed everything. It was the kind of thing another person might miss if they were busy protecting their pride, but I had watched for it since Caleb was 3. Gloria's voice came from near the dessert table, too high and too polished. "There are no peanuts in the vanilla ones. I'm sure he touched something else." I didn't answer any of them. I moved the way fear teaches you to move, when love has no time for politeness. I used the EpiPen, then pulled Caleb into my arms, while someone behind me gasped, like I had done something violent, instead of something necessary. Pastor Miles was still on with dispatch, but Street Agnes was 13 minutes away, and Caleb's breathing was changing too fast for me to stand there waiting. I called Owen with one hand and held Caleb with the other. "Meet me at Street Agnes. Now." My mother kept saying, "He's breathing, Maren. He's breathing." She said it like a prayer and a defense at the same time. But breathing was not the same as safe. Breathing could be a door half closed. Breathing could be borrowed time. I carried Caleb out through the side entrance, past the bulletin board with the canned food drive flyer and the smiling photos from last year's Christmas pageant. His face was hot against my neck. His hands clutched my sweater with a strength that made me want to break apart. We reached Street Agnes in 13 minutes. I remember every red light because I hated each one personally. By the time the ER team took him, Caleb had stopped crying, which scared me more than crying ever could. Quiet in a child is not always peace. Sometimes, it is the body saving what little strength it has left, doctor. Elaine Mercer looked at him once and started giving orders in that calm emergency room voice that makes everyone else stand straighter. A nurse asked what he had eaten. I said, "A cupcake he was never supposed to be given." When Owen arrived, his work boots were still muddy, and his face went white when he saw Caleb under the oxygen mask. He didn't ask me why I had let it happen. He didn't ask whether I was sure. He just put one hand on my back and one hand on the rail of Caleb's bed, like he could hold both of us in place by force. That was when Dr. Mercer came back and said the word my parents had spent the afternoon trying to outrun. Anaphylaxis. My mother started crying then. Soft, practiced, church hall tears. But she was not looking at Caleb when she cried. She was looking through the glass toward the waiting room, where Warren stood with Gloria, both of them whispering like people already building their version of events. Then Lorna turned to me and said, "Please don't tell everyone at church until we understand what happened." And that was when I realized her first fear was not that Caleb might have died. Her first fear was that people might know why. Caleb stayed at Street Agnes for 36 hours. That sounds short when you say it cleanly, like a number on a discharge form, but time inside a hospital room with your child attached to monitors does not move the way ordinary time moves. It stretches. It clicks. It lives in the pauses between beeps. I sat beside his bed with my phone face down on my knee, watching the rise and fall of his chest like it was the only clock left in the world. Dr. Elaine Mercer came in just after midnight with a chart tucked against her side. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. "This was not a scare, Maren," she said. "This was anaphylaxis." I nodded like a person receiving information, instead of a mother trying not to fall apart. Owen stood behind me, one hand on my shoulder. When the nurse handed me the first estimate from billing, the number at the bottom was $18,740 before insurance. I stared at it until the digits stopped looking real. That was when my old habit came back. Not as anxiety this time, but as survival. I opened a note on my phone and started writing. Time of cupcake, time of symptoms, time of EpiPen, time of arrival. I saved the 3 emails I had sent before the fundraiser. I took a picture of Caleb's labeled lunch container, sitting untouched in the plastic hospital bag beside my purse. I took a picture of the half cupcake Owen had found, still wrapped in a napkin, in the small trash can near Caleb's chair, before anyone thought to empty it. My mother texted at 6:18 the next morning. Not, "How is Caleb?" Not, "Do you need clean clothes?" Just one sentence that made the room feel colder than the IV pole beside the bed. "Please don't discuss this with anyone until we all agree on what happened." I read it twice. Then I took a screenshot. Owen saw my face and leaned over my shoulder. He did not say "I told you so." He said, "They didn't misunderstand you. They ignored you." By the time Caleb was discharged, I had a folder on my phone labeled November 1, 8. Emails, photos, medical notes, the billing estimate, my mother's text. It felt ridiculous and necessary at the same time, like building a fence after the dog has already bitten. I still did not know about the kitchen. I did not know what Beverly had heard, or what Gloria had moved, or how close the truth had been standing to a roll of paper towels. 2 evenings later, after Caleb had finally fallen asleep on the couch with his fire truck blanket tucked under his chin, my phone rang from a number I knew but had not seen in years. Beverly Haskins. Her voice was lower than I remembered. "Maren," she said, "I've been trying to decide whether to mind my own business." Then she went quiet long enough for my stomach to turn. "But honey, you need to ask Pastor Miles if that kitchen camera still keeps recordings." I told myself I would call Pastor Miles when Caleb was stronger. Before I did, my mother called and asked me to come over. "Just adults," she said. "No children, no raised voices, no drama." The way she said drama told me she had already decided who the problem was. Owen wanted to come with me. I told him no. Looking back, that was pride, not wisdom. Some part of me still wanted to believe my mother would apologize better if there was no witness. Her living room smelled like lemon polish and roast chicken, the way it did whenever she wanted a hard conversation to look like Sunday dinner. Warren sat in his recliner. Gloria Fenwick sat on the sofa with her purse in her lap, wearing lipstick too bright for a woman who claimed she had done nothing wrong. Pastor Miles was there too, hands folded, looking uncomfortable enough that I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. On the coffee table sat a printed letter with my name at the top. My mother pushed it toward me like she was offering dessert. "We all think this is the cleanest way forward," she said. I read the first paragraph and felt something inside me go very still. It called Caleb's reaction an unfortunate misunderstanding at a community event. It said no individual had acted with negligence. It said Owen and I had no intention of pursuing public complaint, legal action, or reputational harm against First Grace Chapel or any volunteer. I looked up slowly. "You invited me here to sign away the truth." Gloria's mouth tightened. "Your truth is not the only truth, Maren. I have employees. I have a business." Warren leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Don't ruin a church over a cupcake." My mother began to cry, soft and immediate. "If this gets out, everyone will think I'm a terrible grandmother." That was when I understood they had not gathered to ask what Caleb needed. They had gathered to make me responsible for what their choices might cost them. Pastor Miles cleared his throat and murmured, "Maybe what everyone needs right now is grace." I turned to him. "Grace? For whom?" No one answered. My mother pushed a pen across the table. I stood up without touching it. Warren's face hardened. "If you walk out and turn this into a fight, don't expect to come back here as my daughter." I waited for the old fear to rise. It did. Then something colder rose behind it. "Then I guess you should have treated my son like your grandson." I left without signing. Through the front window, I saw Gloria in the kitchen, her back to the room, tearing a narrow yellow bakery slip into strips over the trash can. I could not read what was on it. But for the first time that week, I stopped assuming adults destroyed paper for innocent reasons. I got into my car, locked the doors, and called Beverly Haskins before I even started the engine. Beverly answered on the second ring, like she had been waiting beside the phone. I was still in my car outside my mother's house, both hands on the steering wheel, the curtains behind me glowing warm enough to fool a stranger. I told Beverly about the letter, the pen, and Gloria in the kitchen tearing up a yellow bakery slip. Beverly did not interrupt once. When I finished, she said, "Come over. I'll put coffee on." Her house sat 3 blocks from the church, a small brick ranch, with a porch swing, and a ceramic goose by the steps wearing a Thanksgiving scarf. Beverly opened the door before I knocked. She looked older than I remembered from childhood, but steadier too, like age had taken away everything except the part of her that knew how to hold a line. She led me to the kitchen table, set a mug in front of me, and said, "I saw Gloria move those cupcakes." She told it slowly, like a woman giving a statement. The paper towels had run out, She stepped into the kitchen. Gloria had 2 trays out. One supposed to be plain, and one from a peanut butter frosting order. Beverly saw the spatula. She saw the switch. Then she heard my father ask which one I had made such a fuss about. Gloria said, "She won't know the difference." Warren said, "Just don't tell Maren which one he ate. There are sentences your body understands before your mind does." Mine went cold from the shoulders down. I had suspected carelessness. I had suspected embarrassment. I had not let myself suspect that my father knew enough to hide it. Beverly touched 2 fingers to my wrist. "Honey, I should have said something right then." Her voice cracked on, "Should." I wanted to comfort her. That was what I had been trained to do. Instead, I asked, "Would you say that again if someone official needed to hear it?" Beverly sat back. For the first time that night, she looked offended. "I'm old, Maren. I'm not decoration. Of course I would." Then she told me about the camera. First, Grace Chapel had installed it the year before after money went missing from the donation jar during a rummage sale. It pointed toward the back hallway, catching part of the kitchen door and the prep table if angled right. "If it still exists," she said, "you need it before somebody decides Grace means deleting it." I called Pastor Miles from Beverly's kitchen table. He answered on the second try with the careful voice of a man already afraid of the conversation. I told him I had a witness, medical records, and a letter my mother had tried to make me sign. Then I said, "Pastor, if that kitchen footage disappears, this stops being a family matter and becomes something else." The silence lasted long enough for Beverly's wall clock to tick 11 times. Then he exhaled. "I will not delete anything. Tonight," I said. "Not tomorrow. Not after prayer. Tonight." Another silence came, softer this time. "All right," he said. "Use the side door." At 9:18, Beverly and I sat in the church office while Pastor Miles opened the security system on an old desktop computer that hummed like a tired refrigerator. For several minutes, there was nothing but hallway traffic, Gloria moving in and out, my father's gray sweater near the kitchen door. Then Pastor Miles stopped the video. His face changed quietly. He whispered, "Maren, you need to see minute 4:21. Pastor Miles clicked play. At first, the footage looked like nothing important, which is how most important things look before you know what they cost. Gloria entered the frame with one tray, then another. Warren stepped into the doorway, his gray sweater sleeve visible near the edge of the screen. There was no clear audio, only a faint church hall murmur and the old computer fan whining under it. But the picture was enough. Gloria used the same spatula on both trays. She moved 3 cupcakes. My father watched. Nobody in that little office said anything for a long moment. Pastor Miles paused the video and rewound it twice. Beverly leaned closer, her mouth pressed into a thin line. I did not cry. I did not even feel angry yet. Anger would have been warmer. What I felt was colder and cleaner. My father had not misunderstood me. Gloria had not made an innocent mistake. My mother had not been confused by medical words. They had all known just enough to make a choice. Pastor Miles finally whispered, "I need to bring this to the board." I turned to him. "No, we bring it to the board after they say what they think happened." He looked at me then like he was seeing someone different from the woman who had sat in my mother's living room 3 hours earlier. Maybe I was different. The version of me who wanted one good apology from my parents had been left beside that unsigned letter. We made a copy of the footage onto a church flash drive and another onto my laptop. Pastor Miles printed the incident policy. Beverly wrote down what she had heard, in block letters so firm they looked carved. I added everything to my November 18 folder. The emails, the photos, the bill, my mother's text, the draft letter, Beverly's statement, and now, minute 4:21. Evidence looks small when it's stacked on a table, until you realize each page is a door someone else can no longer close. The next morning, my mother texted as if we had shared a misunderstanding instead of a threat. "Are you feeling calmer today?" Gloria had already emailed the church board, calling me emotionally overwhelmed and implying I was looking for someone to blame because of the hospital bill. Warren called Owen at work and told him, "Be a husband. Get control of this before Maren embarrasses everybody." Owen sent me a screenshot and wrote only, "I'm sitting beside you." By noon, Pastor Miles scheduled an emergency board meeting for Monday morning. I replied to my mother with one sentence, "I'll come, but I want everyone to tell the truth." She wrote back almost immediately, "Good. Just stay calm and don't embarrass the family." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I put my phone face down and closed the folder. They were walking into that room believing I was still the daughter trained to keep peace. They had no idea I had finally learned the difference between peace and silence. Monday morning, my parents walked into the church boardroom like people arriving to correct a misunderstanding. My mother wore her blue cardigan, the one she used to wear behind the church desk when she wanted to look helpful and harmless. Warren came in behind her, jaw set, already annoyed. Gloria carried a folder thick enough to suggest innocence could be measured in pages. I sat beside Owen with my own folder closed in front of me. Across the table, Beverly folded her hands and looked straight ahead. Pastor Miles opened with a prayer so brief, it barely had time to become a shield. Then he said we were there to clarify what happened on November 18th. Gloria went first. She called it an unfortunate misunderstanding. She said she had baked plain vanilla cupcakes, that the church kitchen was busy, that children touch things, that allergies are complicated. Then she looked at the board and said, "Maren was understandably emotional after the hospital bill. I think grief sometimes needs somewhere to land." My mother nodded, like that was wisdom. "No one wanted to hurt Caleb," she said softly. "Maren is a devoted mother, but she panicked. Any mother would." Warren leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. "The boy is fine now. That should matter too." He looked at Owen then, "Not me. Somebody has to stop this before it tears apart a church that has served this town longer than Maren has been alive." I kept my hands flat on the folder. The old Maren would have defended herself first. She would have explained her tone, her fear, her choices. That morning, I let them talk. I let the board hear the shape of the story they wanted to build. Then I asked Gloria one question. "Did you receive my email with Caleb's allergy instructions before the fundraiser?" She blinked. "I receive many emails." I opened my folder and slid 3 printed copies across the table. "This one, sent 3 times." Pastor Miles passed the papers down the board. My mother stared at the timestamps like they were written in another language. I turned to her. "Did you receive the same instructions?" She swallowed. "Yes, but Maren, you know how detailed you can be." I looked at my father. "Did you know Caleb was not supposed to eat anything from the dessert table unless I checked it?" Warren's face tightened. "I knew what you said. I didn't agree with raising a child afraid of food." The room changed after that. Not loudly, just enough. A woman from the finance committee stopped taking notes. One of the deacons looked up from the email, and then at my father. I took out the photo of Caleb in the ER, the one where the oxygen mask covered half his face, and his small hand was wrapped around my sleeve. I placed it on top of the emails. "Then we agree on the first fact," I said. "Everyone at this table knows I warned you." Gloria shifted in her chair. "Warnings don't prove I caused anything." My mother reached toward me, palm open, like she could still turn this back into a family conversation. "Maren, please, we are trying to heal." I looked at her hand and did not take it. "No," I said. "You are trying to rename what happened before anyone else can read the label." Then I opened the folder again and took out the printed letter she had asked me to sign. The board had not seen that yet. My mother's face went pale before Pastor Miles even reached for it. Pastor Miles unfolded the letter slowly. The room had the kind of silence I had only ever heard in hospitals and churches, the silence people use when they already know something is wrong but are waiting for permission to name it. He read the first paragraph aloud. "Unfortunate misunderstanding. No individual negligence, no public complaint, no legal action." Each phrase landed heavier than the last. When he finished, one of the deacons looked at my mother and asked, Why would anyone need Maren to sign this if nothing wrong happened? My mother's eyes filled at once. Because people twist things, she said. Because one mistake can ruin good people. Gloria snapped her head toward her. One mistake? She said. Lorna, you told me she was exaggerating. You said he'd been around desserts before. Warren hit the table with his palm. Don't start blaming my wife. The room cracked open right there. Not because I had raised my voice, because they finally began telling on each other. Pastor Miles turned the laptop toward the board. There is footage, he said. Gloria stood halfway up. You recorded the kitchen? Beverly's voice cut through the room, steady as a bus brake. The church recorded the kitchen. You just forgot it told the truth. Pastor Miles pressed play. Minute 4:21 filled the screen. Gloria moving between trays, the same spatula in her hand, my father in the doorway, watching. No clear words, but enough. Enough for every face around that table to change. Gloria sat down hard. That doesn't prove peanuts were in anything. Beverly leaned forward. I heard what you said. Then she repeated it, word for word. She won't know the difference. My father's face darkened. Beverly is confused. Beverly didn't blink. Warren, I drove 32 children through snowstorms for 40 years. I know the difference between confusion and a man trying to hide what he did. No one laughed. No one rescued him. I took out my mother's text next. Pastor Miles read it aloud too. Please don't discuss this with anyone until we all agree on what happened. My mother whispered. I was trying to protect the family. I looked at her across that long table. No, you were trying to protect the story. Then I turned to my father. You said Caleb was still breathing like that settled it. But that was the lowest bar you could find, and still call yourself innocent. For the first time, Warren had no sentence ready. Gloria started gathering her papers, but Pastor Miles stopped her. Sit down, he said, and his voice sounded different now. Not angry, finished. This board will be reviewing your catering role, the food safety procedures, and the insurance report today. My mother looked at me as if I had betrayed her. I kept my hands still on the table and said the words I had waited my whole life to say. My son's life is not a misunderstanding. The board meeting did not end with shouting. Real endings almost never do. They end with chairs scraping, papers being gathered, and people realizing the room they walked into is not the same room they are leaving. Pastor Miles asked Gloria to remain after the others stepped out. By that afternoon, her catering role at First Grace Chapel was suspended, pending a full review. By the next week, 2 church events had canceled their bakery orders. Nobody had dragged her name through town. The truth had simply stopped protecting her. The church board sent Owen and me a written apology. Not a perfect one. Not the kind that gives back the hours beside a hospital bed or removes the image of your child reaching for his throat. But it named what happened clearly. Failure to follow allergy instructions. Failure to protect a child. Failure to report honestly afterward. They also voted to cover what our insurance did not pay from Caleb's emergency visit. I accepted the check. I did not call it forgiveness. I called it responsibility. My parents did not accept any of it with grace. My mother left me long voicemails about humiliation, family loyalty, and how cruel it was to make old people answer for one terrible day. Warren sent Owen one message that said, "You let your wife destroy her own blood." Owen blocked him before I could ask. After that, I sent my parents one email. They would not see Caleb without me or Owen present. They would not feed him anything, and they would not be invited into our home until they could say exactly what they had done without hiding behind the word misunderstanding. For months, nothing came back but silence. Sometimes silence feels like peace. Sometimes it feels like a locked door you are finally strong enough not to knock on. Caleb healed faster than I did. Children often do. He went back to kindergarten with a new allergy plan, 2 fresh EpiPens, and a teacher who looked me in the eye and said, "We take this seriously here." I cried in the parking lot after that, not because I was sad, but because seriousness can feel like love when you have spent your life begging adults to stop laughing. On Caleb's 6th birthday, Owen baked cupcakes in our kitchen from a recipe we had checked 3 times. Beverly came over and brought a toy school bus wrapped in blue paper. Pastor Miles sent a card but did not come in. That was all right. Some apologies are better kept at the mailbox. Caleb blew out his candles, cheeks round and safe, frosting on his chin, laughing, because Owen had gotten sprinkles in his beard. I watched him breathe, and finally understood what I should have known from the beginning. Breathing is not the same as safe, and family is not the same as love. The lesson I learned from what happened to Caleb is not that family will always protect you. I wish that were true. I wish blood alone made people careful, honest, and safe. But life has a harder lesson than that. Sometimes, the people who taught you the word family are the same people who expect you to sacrifice your peace, your truth, and even your child's safety to protect their image. For a long time, I believed love meant understanding everyone's reasons. I believed being a good daughter meant explaining pain gently enough that no one felt accused. I thought keeping peace was noble. But peace that requires you to stay silent while someone else is harmed is not peace. It is permission. And the longer you give people permission to dismiss your boundaries, the more comfortable they become crossing them. A real family does not ask you to shrink your fear so they can feel innocent. Real love does not say, "He's still breathing," as if survival is the same as protection. Real love listens the first time. It respects the rule even when it feels inconvenient. It chooses the vulnerable person over the comfortable story. And when harm is done, real love tells the truth before it tries to be forgiven. I also learned that healing does not always look dramatic. Sometimes healing is a folder full of evidence. Sometimes it is one steady witness sitting at a kitchen table. Sometimes it is a husband who says, "I'm sitting beside you." Sometimes it is blocking a number, changing a rule, or accepting that a locked door is not always a loss. It can be the beginning of safety. If you are listening to this and you have spent years being called dramatic for protecting yourself, I hope you hear me clearly. Boundaries do not destroy families. Lies do. Accountability does not break love. It reveals whether love was really there. And if this story touched something in you, please subscribe to the channel. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between keeping peace and telling the truth? I read your stories, and someone out there may need the courage your words can give them.